Hey folks, Alan Saunders, Derrick Bell, SteelersNow.com with our Steelers practice report here at Latrobe Memorial Stadium, where we just wrapped up Friday Night Lights. There was practice, there were fireworks during practice, and then there were fireworks after practice. You were at the Backs on Backers drill, happened right over there. I think that's where most of the fireworks during practice happened. Another physical practice session for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, you want to talk about some intense competition with a lot of trash talk. The drill got off to a pretty serious start. We saw Najee Harris go one-on-one with Patrick Queen a couple times. A lot of jawing back and forth. Next up, Jaylen Warren got to go up with Landon Roberts. Roberts tried to convert speed to power against him, ran right through his face, actually busted Jaylen Warren's visor up. There was pretty much nonstop talking between both groups throughout. But honestly, the biggest winner of Backs on Backers was honestly Darnell Washington. He looked untouchable, man. I think he might have went 6-0 in all of his reps. They had him go up against Nick Herbig. I saw him up against Alex Highsmith too, whether it was using his length to push guys up the arc or just, anchoring really well. He was really balanced. I mean, having a tight end that can, honestly block with that sort of technique and pass pro is really, really impressive.
So that came right after a 7 shots period that the offense went 7-0 in. Justin Fields with 2 touchdown passes to George Pickens. Another one, Joey Porter Jr. called for defensive pass interference. Maybe another great day for the offense here. What did you take away from the 7 shots?
Yeah, I mean, 7 shots, dominant performance. I thought the defense overall got the best of the offense yesterday, but we saw some of the same things in terms of concepts wise. A lot of 13 personnel. They went a little bit of empty, saw some zone read stuff, some play action as well, and really Justin was pretty on target, which was really a theme throughout the day.
It's funny, we had a question in Steelers Afternoon Drive today about them going empty. We talked about them doing it out of 13 personnel, and then we saw a whole bunch of empty 13 personnel today, and then some shifts in and out of it. Justin Fields, to me, he was really good on Tuesday, and I don't want to take away from that performance, but it was the first day in pads, and they ran a whole lot on Tuesday. I thought he was really good today as well, but also in a much more balanced attack. He probably had, 15, 20 team pass attempts today, and he was very, very good. I thought this was, not only was the ball pretty accurate, not only weren't there interceptions or big mistakes, but I thought the big difference for me today was the ball was coming out. He was very decisive. It looked like he was making his first read, and if not, quickly getting to that second read. Didn't see that scrambliness in the pocket at all that he has at times. I thought this looked maybe the best he looked over this kind of practice.
Yeah, my takeaways from yesterday was that Justin was a little bit uneven. I mean, you saw some flashes, but you saw him being a little indecisive in the pocket. But I thought today, really, he was extremely decisive, operating well within quick game. He was hitting his back foot and getting the ball out on time. And really, every pass that I saw him throw was pretty much not only on target, but in stride, allowing guys to, turn up the field after the catch. And I think 2 significant throws that really stood out to me. He hit George Pickens on a deep out route about 15 yards to the sideline. I believe Joey Porter Jr. was in coverage on that one. Ball was flying out of his hand. And then, they ended up hitting Calvin Austin, I think, for about a 15-yard hookup in the middle of the field where he's running a little search route and zone coverage. And that thing was humming, man. He was putting some serious RPMs on.
Is that the one where Cam Sutton was just screaming down on top of it, and he really had to fit into a tight window?
There were several of those throws today where I thought that Justin was really able to showcase his arm talent, his arm strength. So I thought it was a really good day overall and a lot of reps.
So the same deal with Russell Wilson as it's been for the first 7 practices. Did individual work, did some 7-on-7. He was throwing a lot of balls in the one-on-one receiver DB drill that I watched. I went down the chart and I didn't score a single win for the defense other than drops. It was a pretty dominant performance for the offense today all the way around. But I thought it was funny, a lot of times when they do those one-on-one drills, they do them from the 5-yard line or something like that. Here they were back at the 25, so the receivers obviously have a huge advantage for that drill, but also they can decide whether they want to try to get, if you break off a slant or you run a comeback in that setting, yeah, you're getting the ball, but that's almost kind of a win for the defensive back considering the drill. But it was funny when Russell Wilson was throwing, I think every receiver tried to go deep because all they do is just want to catch that Russ over the shoulder moon ball, and Van Jefferson got one, Calvin Austin had one and dropped it, and George Pickens, he went the other way. He just broke off 2 easy ones against Joey Porter, wasn't even close. I thought George was probably the best he's been all training camp today.
Yeah, George has been really impressive. I didn't get to see. I was at the other end watching the gunner drills per my own accord. But no, George really throughout team 7-on-7. I'll stick with kind of the same thing that I saw yesterday and put in my takeaways for SteelersNow.com. They're just moving George around the formation so much more. Like, he's getting so many more like design touches. Whether it's underneath, they're getting him in the slot, they're getting him at the foot of the bunch. You know, he's not just isolated out there on the boundary running a bunch of fades and go balls. Like, we're seeing him run a more diverse route tree. And, you know, I think that even though they're not necessarily doing like game plan stuff, it's honestly encouraging to me to see the offense like move their best players around and try to exploit some matchups. I mean, there was times today where he was on linebackers. Tyler Matakevich was trying to cover him one time. Obviously, that's not a fair matchup for him, but really just throughout the practice, them moving him around, and like even when he's had matchups against the cornerbacks, like he's pretty much done whatever he's wanted. So he's been extremely impressive through two practices for me, and exactly what I would anticipated, you know, with him headed into year 3 as the number 1 wide receiver.
I want to talk about the offensive line a little bit. Broderick Jones limited in practice today, I would call him. Has a big, huge brace on his right arm, right elbow. He banged it up in practice. I want to say that was that Tuesday? It was earlier this week. And hasn't been taking his full amount of reps since then, and hasn't taken any reps at left tackle. I talked to him. He said, you know, he's really limited by what he's able to do while he's wearing that brace. Now, he doesn't think that the injury is going to be a long-term one, but for right now, pretty limited in what he's able to do. He said, TJ uses it against me. You know, it's not fair. But, you know, he also said that doesn't have anything to do with, in his mind, why he hasn't been playing any left tackle. It's been all right for Broderick Jones, and he said he doesn't really know why, but that isn't the reason. So still just right tackle for Broderick Jones. Troy Fautanu getting more reps with Broderick a bit limited, and then all Dan Moore on the left side. You wrote on the site today about how that situation doesn't seem to make a ton of sense, but what are your thoughts about those two and just the whole offensive lines from today in general?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Broderick was limited. I do kind of agree. I just feel like if the long-term solution is that the Steelers are going to move him to left tackle, it doesn't seem really sensible in my eyes to not give him as much work as possible over there, especially as it relates to pass protection, because that's really the biggest jump that we need to see from him headed into his second year. But I know we had a lot of people ask earlier when we were recording the afternoon drive, a lot of people were asking about Fautanu. I told you guys that I would pay more attention to the offensive line now that we had Paz on. I watched a good amount of Fautanu's reps. He had a lot of reps up against Nick Herbig. I felt like for the most part he did really well in those reps, showing a really good anchor. He was able to push Herbig up the arc a couple times. Herbig was trying to use the cross chop and the ghost move up the arc against him. Did really well. I think Herbig may have got him one time on an inside spin.
Yeah.
But overall, like for the most part, those matchups look really good. And then there was one really nice run play that I saw him make a nice reach block from the backside on a zone play. So, you know, what I did see from Fautanu, I thought was pretty positive. And then Zach Frazier as well. I was, when Justin wasn't in the game and Frazier was, I was trying to really hone in on what he was doing at the pivot. And I felt like he had a couple really nice reps in terms of like anchoring against power. He had one really good one against Fehoko. I think he had another really good one versus Montravius Adams, who tried to hit him with a rip move. So 2 good reps for Frazier and pass pro in a team setting. But overall, I thought the rookies had a solid day.
I thought he won both of his one-on-one pass pro reps too. I can't remember, maybe against Fehoko, I think.
Okay.
I thought Nate Herbig was really good today as well, and some of those team runs, man. There was one I watched early where Najee Harris kind of hesitated in the hole, and it was like he didn't know what to do with all the space he had. He just needed to hit that and run. I think, man, like I have questions about the pass protection and whether Herbig is like a legitimate starting center option for this team going forward, but especially in the run game, man, he looks a lot better than I thought he would.
Yeah, I think the play you're referencing was an inside zone play from the gun, and Najee had a really wide lane. I mean, I think it was him and James Daniels on the double, you know, climbing, making sure they get that vertical displacement. But, yeah, I mean, so far, like, Herbig hasn't been extremely noticeable to me. He's not somebody that I've really keyed in on practice, but there hasn't been any mistakes. Like, even today, I felt like the interior pass rush wasn't really getting home, which is, you know, a testament to partially him as well. But kind of a little bit on his brother, I felt like, man, the thing that really sticks out to me is, you know, as it relates to Nick, they got to find a way to get him on the field, man. Like, his burst and ability to get off the rock is really something. And this is really the first time that I've really seen him up close in person. But his juice off the ball is serious, man. I'm excited about some potential 3-edge looks this year.
And Marcus Golden got his first team work after getting signed before practice yesterday. I thought he looked really good, too, for a guy who was at home yesterday morning, flew in on the red eye overnight to get here for practice yesterday, is out here working today. He had a couple really clean pass rush wins. He looked awesome.
He won both of his backs on backers reps, too.
Yeah.
I mean, the Steelers' edge depth. I mean, I really think the front seven, this is something that I just tweeted about in reference. Some people were tweeting about the screens. There's been a lot of screens over the past couple of days. None of them have been successful. And the reason none of them have been successful is because PQ has blown everything up. I mean, it's something that everybody knows about Patrick Queen is that he can run really fast. I mean, he's an extremely rangy player. But you get him out here, like the difference between him and basically anyone that we've seen, I feel like really since Ryan Shazier at the second level, it's eye-popping. He ruined several plays in the backfield once again today. So
that's funny. I was actually talking to Dan Moore a couple years ago about the screen game and kind of getting in depth into it. And he said, oh, yeah, there are guys that are like screen killers in the NFL. Patrick Queen was one of the guys he named in that story a couple years ago when he was still playing for Baltimore.
That's how it's been. So.
Great practice tonight. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to all our coverage. We'll be back at St. Vincent College tomorrow for another practice number 9. And make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Derrick Bell, Alan Saunders. We'll see you next time.